Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I am going to report about the Filipino martial art, a module on Part 1, Arnis. So, for my assigned topic, I am assigned in Unit 1, Arnis as the Philippine national sport. So, next slide. Before we start our formal discussion today, now, I will going to read our intended learning outcomes. First, recognize the course objectives, outcomes, requirements, and class policies. Second, express the desire to tell the history and evolution of Arnis. Third, state that the benefits and advantage of Arnis. Fourth, enumerate and explain the cardinal rules of martial art. Fifth, state the evolution of Calis Illustrissimo Arnis system, and the last one of our intended outcomes are identify the equipment used in Arnis. So next slide. Since we don't have face-to-face or online class discussion today, but I prepare some essential question, I will read it. So, why Arnis is considered our national sports? So since we don't have face-to-face classes or online classes, so I will going to answer this question by myself. So Arnis is considered our national sports because Arnis was developed by an indigenous population of the Philippines. We use an associated range of weapon for combat and self-defense. So we all know that Arnis is generated from the Philippines. So this Arnis is composing both simple and impact and engaged weapon. Arnis traditionally involved rattan, sword, daggers, and spears. But the most commonly used in Arnis are the rattan or bamboo stick. So, Arnis also became our national sports because the Republic Act states that the official adoption of Filipino Arnis as the Philippine national martial art and sports circulated by the inscribing a Eskrima Arnis symbol on the official Philippine Sports Commission and seal, and by making it by the first competition played by the participants and very first anda palarong pambansa. So it is considered our national sports. So next slide please. So now we are going to our introduction, the introduction and the fundamental system of Arnis. History and evolution of Arnis is the Philippine national martial art and sports according to the Republic Act 9850. So according to the Republic Act 9850, the Arnis or the evolution of the Arnis in the Philippines is very rampant, and it will become one of our martial arts made by martial arts or sports in the history of the Philippines. So, according to the Republic Act 9850, an act declaring Arnis as our national martial art and sports of the Philippines, authored by John Juan Miguel Subiri. So, no, this Republic Act said that it's declared that, or it's declared the Arnis is one of our national martial arts and sports. It is authored by General Juan Miguel Subiri. So next, we have different section that prove that Arnis is one of our national martial art in the Philippines. So first, section 1. It is the policy of the state to calculate patriotism, nationalism, and appreciation of a role of national heroes and symbols in the historical development of the country. Furthermore, state give priority to education, science and technology, arts and culture, and sports to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress, and promote total human liberation and development. So, according to the Section 1 of Republic Act 9850, that the Arnis calculate the patriotism and the nationalism of the heroes in our history. Okay, next. So, Section 3. Arnis is hereby declared as a Philippine national martial art and sport. The official adoption of Arnis as the national martial art and sport shall be promulgated by inscribing the symbol of Arnis in the official sale of the Philippine Sports Commission and making it as the first sport competition to be played by participating teams on the first day in the annual Palarong Pambansa. The Philippine Sports Commission shall be lead agency to implement the provision of this act. So, in this chapter, we discover that Arnis came from the Philippines. So, it is the first martial art include in the Philippines that the Philippines or the Filipino people introduced to the different to the Palarong Pambansa. So, in this section 3 also stated that the Arnis is declared as one of the Philippine national martial art and sports. So next. So the last section that state that the Arnis is our national martial arts and sports. So the section 4. The Department of Education, the National Commission for Culture and Art, and the Philippine Sports Commission shall promulgate the necessary rules and regulation to carry out the provision of this act. So the Department of Education daw, they should be include the Arnis in education or in curriculum because it is stated in the section. Like the life of Jose Rizal. Diba Jose Rizal, we all know that Jose Rizal is already passed away in a very long time ago. But we are studying his life and his works because it is mandated by law. So, at the same time, Arnis, we study Arnis now because it is mandated by law. So, we don't have any choice but to study the Arnis because we have different sections that state that we really need, or the Department of Education, the National Commission of Culture and Arts, and the Philippine Sports Commission, they shall be promulgate, or they will teach the student or the young to do that kind of sports, the Arnis. So next, we are going to discuss the brief history of Arnis. So next slide. So, the history of Arnis. So, since nobody wants to read or nobody can read these slides, so I will read the slides. The Philippines has a great history of Arnis, which stretches back to after that, Filipino stick fighting made an immense difference in the Filipino culture. So, before the Arnis fully developed, the Filipino people only use stick by using or by playing the Arnis. So they only use the stick of Arnis. During the World War II, the Philippine Balo Battalion, its tale full of splendor. One of that can inspire everyone, whether he is a martial artist or not. The Filipino martial arts has been influenced by waves of migration and cultures and the art as we know today as the culmination of more than 1,000 years of evolution. So before the World War II starts daw, di ba we all know that our mga ninuno or the great father or grandfather, they don't have a gun. They only use a stick, or they only use a sword or the kanabitang sundang. So, according to Dr. Zerzal, he who does not know how to look back at where he came from will never get to his destination. Diba, it is a very famous quote by our very own Dr. Zerzal, or also known our national hero. So, he stated here that someone who will not look back, or he will not going look back to the history or pinagmulan niya, hindi siya makakupunta sa kanyang paroroonan. So, you cannot commit the success, or you cannot commit the your dream if you don't know how to look back on your nakaraan or your past. So, di ba, we all know that we are not going to be here if we are not going to recall or balikan yung mga nakaraan natin, because in our past we can learn something that we can apply in the future. So next slide. So 300 BC or 300 before Christ, the Malays settled in the Philippines. They brought with them the long knife, with among the first Filipino martial art bladed weapon. So now it is stated here that the Malay brought the bladed knife or the long knife in the Philippines to be used in the martial art or in arnis. So next, in 1518, King Charles of Spain was convinced by Ferdinand Magellan to sail west in the Moluccas or the Spice Islands to search the spices, where we are very precious commodity at the time. So first, King Charles daw, no, he was convinced by Magellan. Di ba si Magellan, he is the one who he is a Spanish who traveled to the Philippines. So he influenced or he convinced King Charles, or the first King Charles, to sail in Moluccas to find or to search the spices where a very precious commodity at a time. So next, on April 28, 1521, Magellan and his troops paddled towards the shore of Mactan over knee-high water. Raja Lapu-Lapu met them and his men, who treated Magellan and his crew as an enemy, and the Battle of Mactan was set on shore. So next, April 1564. So another navigator from Spain named Miguel de Legazpi landed in Abayog, Leyte, Philippines. He was aware of an unfortunate fate of Magellan, so took a non-hostile approach to avoid battle with the native. He befriends the warrior chief Malitik. It is and this point he witnessed that the deadly fighting skills of the native through a demo of entertain them. So in this date pa lang, no, so and the previous date, we all know that we can say na that the arnis came from, or the group of Magellan, or the time of Lapu-Lapu, the arnis developed. So next is the 1764. This was the start of the Dark Age of Kali. The Spanish overlord banned the practice of Kali to the natives, using the alibi that the natives were wasting time practicing it instead of tilling the field. However, the natives knew too well that their colonizers were just afraid that the skills would be used in revolution against them, because due to opposition of revolutionaries were gained support from the natives. So the natives here are the Filipinos before. So the Spanish daw, they barbitag ilahang ginauto ang mga Filipino before that they are just wasting their time on practicing how to do the arnis, or I don't know what they call on arnis before, but the Spanish or the Spaniard, the Spanish people told that the natives, that they are just wasting their times on practicing their skills in using the bamboo stick, using the different style of arnis. So next, in 1873, the fighting system was renamed arnis, derived from the word arnis, which means colorful, trapping on defensive armor used on a Moro place. So, in 1975, Major Fabian Ver noted that enthusiast and practitioner of arnis formed the National Arnis Association of the Philippines, or NARAFIL, with the objective to unite all arnis group in the Philippines. So on July 1986, Arnis Philippines or ARFI was established the same objective as the NARAFIL. So at the same another year, the NARAFIL or and AFRI, they established an establishment or a group that have the same objective. That one of their objective is to unite all the Arnis group in the Philippines. So next, December 11, 2009. So it is recent, no? Because it is a 20th century. The former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo signed and approved the RA 9850 or the Act of Declaring Arnis as a national martial art and sports of the Philippines, wherein that the author of this act is the Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri and also practitioner of Arnis. So, in our first slides, no, that it stated there that the Republic Act 1950, it is a law that mandates that Arnis is one of our national martial arts sports, but it is not fully in a law or a Republic Act. So, the late President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, she approved that the act is will be approved in the Philippines. So, it is stated there that di ba we all know that always remember that the RA 9850 is an act that declaring that the martial or the Arnis is as the national martial art and sports of the Philippines. So, next. Now we are going to discuss the nature, values, principle, objectives, and goals of Arnis. Arnis was developed by indigenous people of the Philippines who used a variety of weapons for fighting and self-defense. Encompassing both simple and aegis weapons, Arnis traditionally involved rattan, sword, daggers, and spears. So, one of the nature of the Arnis, it is made or developed in indigenous people. So, before, the very simple and aegis weapon used in Arnis are the weapon or the traditionally weapon of Arnis are the rattan, sword, daggers, and spears. So now, we're going to discuss the 12 fundamental principles of Arnis. First, being one of the weapon. An ulis or stick is a primary weapon in the Balintawak Eskrema. It was made of tough, fibrous vein of rattan. Its length must be distanced from the armpit of the fingertips. It's supposed by about 2 to 3 inches of the exposed butt end. Since it is very light, it can be moved rapidly in succession since it made of rattan. It's almost unbreakable. So, the first fundamental principle of Arnis is being one of the method of a weapon. So, we all know if you don't have a unity or you cannot have a connection or the communication of your weapon, so you cannot do it properly. So, next, the second principle Arnis are drilling. Through 2 months drills is how a Eskrema stick fighting student is trained under the management of more practiced Escremador. The most important and the fundamental drill known as 1 to 12 entails alternate defense and the block against the 12 basic blows. In the beginning, the strike are performed in particular pre-arranged order. The second fundamental principle of Arnis is drilling. So, di ba when we are going to do sports like basketball, volleyball, and different sports, even ball games, so we really need to know how to drill different sports. So in Arnis also, drilling, it is like practicing and you and your partner. So it is very it is very convincing if we are going to demo this. I am going to demo this, but And sad to say, we only have to video ourselves like as we are reporting because we are shorting of time because and also we have different and lots of activities. So just always remember that drilling it is the second fundamental of Arnis or the second principle of Arnis. So next, the 12 angle strike. In schematic fighting, there are 12 angles and 12 corresponding defenses. Every angle striking targets specific parts of the body. So, in doing Arnis, if I don't know if all of us witness on how Arnis was done in a different athletes. But in doing Arnis, the expert doing or having some tricks like they targeting the different spot of the body of the opponent so that they can be easily win. Next, the vision. Look at your enemy's eyes at all times. If you're a skills fighter, you look at the eyes of your opponent to get an overall view of his body and movement. If not, look at the upper body. Some fingers keep their look focused on the opponent's lead elbow, particularly when the limbs hold the weapon. The elbow and the shoulder are slow in motion and present a clue as the opponent's hands movement. The fourth fundamental principle of Arnis is the vision. So, di ba we all know that when we have a opponent or a competitors, we really need to look them in eye-to-eye contact because some says that when we look our opponent in eye, we can read his or her minds. So, in Arnis also, that look at your enemy's eyes all the time, you can read the skills, you can read the movement or you can read the skills, the movement, or the overall view of the body of your opponent. Next, timing and rhythm. You should know when to use your technique. It is imperative but hard to teach. An opportunity occasionally presents itself very briefly and is gone before you can even react. Utilize well-placed poses and proper rhythm. The rhythm should be impeccable, however, it is delicate and hard to learn. So it is stated there here that it is very hard to learn the rhythm. We all know that you have a skills but you don't know how to attack in a right timing or in a right rhythm. So in attacking your opponent or in attacking your opponent, so you really need to have a right timing because if you don't have a right timing, so your opponent will be it will become be advantage to him or to her because you don't have right timing on how to attack, on how to attack the right spot on your the right spot of the body on your opponent. So it is really important, or it is one of the fundamental principle in Arnis because you have di ba we all know that in different sports we really need to have a different technique that we can apply in order to win a game or a sports. So in this type of sports or martial arts, Arnis, so all we need technique is we really need to have a right timing and rhythm. So next, the mental states. Mental states place attention on your enemy and your environment, but move with no forethought or thinking. The thinking process is slow and oftentimes, but you will be late if you think before you react. Therefore, rely more on your muscles memory, which is faster and more efficient. So, the sixth fundamental principle of Arnis is the mental state. We all know that if you don't have a proper if you are not flexible enough in your mentally, emotionally, and even if it's not a mental but also your mentally, physically, emotionally, you cannot win a game because the mental state, it is very important in our when we are going to do a sports or a game, because it's stated here, no, that you really need to think the process. You really need to think what are the techniques you are going to apply to defeat your opponent. If you think slowly and you react ano ka na dugay na bitaw kay ka makareact, so it will leads you defeat because you don't have a mental state. When you're going to ano ba yun? When you're going to competition or sports like Arnis, in this Arnis, you really need to have a mental state. So next is speed. So at numerous demonstrator, professional martial arts of different techniques have been provided with a stick and helmet and as to block the strike, the stick strike and schema fighting. To this point, nobody including someone black belts has been able to perform on their best. So speed. So in playing or in doing the sports Arnis, we really need to have speed. So di ba we have different sports or arts of in the Philippines that played that they really use speed, like the badminton. You really need that speeds. The volleyball, the badminton, the basketball, the soccer, futsal, and etc. But also the Arnis is really they are needed as speeds in order for you to win in a match. So it is stated there here that a numerous demonstrator the professional martial arts of different techniques had been provided a stick and a helmet. So next is the economy. So why its economy is involved in our fundamental principle of Arnis. So now we're going to know why economy is involved. So economic movement are necessity. Seek out the shortest trajectory. This can be compared with more extended circular strategies for strikes and blocks that take the longer time to hit the target. In stepping, don't perform 273-degree turns just like the ones found in a few other martial art. In balintawak, eskrema, for example, cross-stepping as observed on the other technique is not practiced. So in economy, it is stated here that babala bitaw that you really don't need to do the cross-stepping martial arts in Arnis or the 273-degree turns because it may lead you defeat or you cannot clearly saw your opponents in when you are going to turn like 273-degree, diba? It is really like it is very near in 360 like so that's like that. So if you're going to turn 273-degree, so it will lead you na you are not going to hit your opponent, so or hit your target. So the next fundamental principle is relaxation. Stay relaxed and loose to make them motion explosive. For speed, utilize muscular explosion. The relaxation principle is one that applicable to sweep motion because relaxed arm and body will speed faster. So no, we have different principle na, but relaxation is stated there. Even though that your opponent is very big than you, so all you need to do, you need to relax. Because if you don't know how to relax your body or muscles, you cannot utilize your muscular explosion. You cannot move you cannot think properly, you cannot think properly your different techniques how to defeat your opponent because of kanabitang naratol na ka because lord ako kay akong kontra ana. So that's it. So it is really important you need to relax on and in a match, because if you don't know how to relax your body or your mind, so you cannot think properly. So next, principle of blocking, throwing, and striking with power. So numerous principles of body dynamics are utilized to build superior power. The most imperative perhaps is the twisting for power principle. All our movements, whether executed with the rear front leg, are performed with a power body twist. So, it is one of the principle of Arnis, no? The principle of blocking, throwing, striking with power. So, for example, you know how to throw your stick properly, you know how to block properly, you know how to strike properly in the perfect spot and the perfect timing, but you don't have power, so it is useless because your opponent may say that di man to sakit, uy okay na to, di ko mapildi ato. So that's it, no? So it is very important when you are going to do different techniques, you kanang samahan mo ito ng power, effort, and timing, and rhythm. So it is very important. So next, distance and range. Even though it is obvious to the inexperienced person, controlling the space between you and your enemy might be one of the most significant aspects of achieving success. Additionally, various ranges, various dynamics just appear out of nowhere, and various techniques can be applied. So now, the distance and range is one of the principle of Arnis. Because if duol kay ka sa imuhang opponent, so dali kay kanya mabunalan, huy madi pagpalayo tawon. So so you really need to observe the distance of your opponent and you. So it is very important because if nasubraan na pud kay ka nga pagkalayo sa iya then your opponent, when you are attacking or when you are going to strike your opponent, dili po kanya makaigo. You cannot hit him or her. So it is very important to distance yourself that in a medium average, like dili kay katantong layo, dili po kay katantong duol, ana. So the distance and range is the 11th principle or the fundamental principle of Arnis. So next is positioning yourself. Weapon must be delivered at a proper distance for defense or attack. Use the body motion to set the weapons for success attack. Apply body motion to evade from the attacker weapons. Thus, the excellent footwork is necessary if your footwork is very slow, and the evolution or attack should be slow and prove won't be optimal. So, the last but not the least fundamental principle in Arnis is positioning yourself properly. Like I said earlier, just a while, that I said that you should know how to distance yourself. Dili ra kay tantong layo, dili po kay tantong duol. Because if you don't know how to position yourself properly, so sorry na lang, you don't have a chance to win in your match. So, di ba, here, you know how to proper strike, you know how to proper your timing and you're going to have a right timing and rhythm, but you don't know how to distance yourself, so it is very useless. So, it is, we have different, 12 principles of Arnis. So if you apply those 12 principles of Arnis, so it is really sure that you have a big chances to win the match. Because that principle or the fundamental principle of Arnis, it help us it can give us knowledge, technique, and how to achieve or how to be success in our match. So next question. Char, di mo ka question. So next, objective and its goal. It is the objective and goals of ARNIS. So, in general, it creates awareness and develop ability to protect and preserve oneself through a proper application of Filipino martial art of ARNIS. Also build a character of nationalism and patriotism through learning of system of these sports. Another one is to instill self-confidence, discipline, and body awareness in the performance of skills. So, the goals or the objective of ARNIS is to know that the every Filipino, if you know how to do ARNIS, you can protect yourselves alone. You can be independently because you know how to protect, or you know how to preserve your oneself through a proper application of a Filipino martial arts and ARNIS. So, and also, the one of their objectives or goals is to build a character of nationalism and patriotism through learning this kind of sports, ARNIS. So, it will help you to instill self-confidence, discipline, and body awareness. So, next. So, I think that is the last part of my report. So, thank you for your attention. Any question? Violent reaction? So, if none, if you have question or violent reaction in my report, so you can direct message me on Messenger to clarify your questions. So, for now, end my discussion. So, thank you.